This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yasir Gulfraz, and today's lecture is Learning Outcome 4. Be able to design, monitoring, and controlling mechanisms for a project.
Hello.
Hello, hi,
Yeah,
Frost.
so
Okay, yeah.
okay.
Just gonna start now. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So, can you see my screen and can you hear
yeah,
me properly?
I can.
Okay. How's everything? Is it all right?
Good. All well.
Okay. So, today we will discussing content that can affect of the success of a project. Specifically, we will focus on project creep, gaps in scope, or accordingly accountability of the project. So, changing dependencies, delays, planning errors, skills or resources, deficits, financial constraints, lack of decision making, ownership of the project, communications, failure and meaningless plan without buy-in, changes to the project team, priority changes within the organization. Also, regular monitoring, meeting, performance management against targets, defining responsibilities and accountability, communications, traceability, audit trails, formalized frameworks and stages, and contingency planning. So here again, you can rate yourself 1 to 10 and evaluate risk factors that may impede completion of a project, risk and contingencies. Now we will be discussing the evaluation of risk factors that may impede the completion of a project. So there are several external circumstances that can impact the progress of a project, such as changes in legislations or shortage in essential supplies. So it is important to identify and mention these risks in the project specification from the outset. So additionally, you should also consider how likely these risks are to occur and what measures can be taken to mitigate the impact if they do happen. By doing so, you can prepare for an potential obstacles that may arise during the project completion. uh, pres- Prescriptive and emergent approaches. So rather like strategy theory, there are two basic ways of looking at how the project process works. Prescriptive approach is the additional planning approach to project, where the project is carefully planned out in advance and every step to the project in uh, according to the project. This approach assumes that all projects variable can be known in advance and there will be no unexpected changes to challenges along the way. Uh, Also, it is very important to note that neither approach is perfect. Okay, so and both have their own advantages and disadvantages. So it is recommended to use both approaches interchangeably depending on the nature and requirements of the project. Here is activity. Make an assessment of the way you normally run project in your organization in terms of planned and emergent approaches. Identify some key areas in project process where you ought to plan more thoroughly in the future and some areas where you need to be more dynamic in recognizing problems and making changes. Fill in the table below. So you can write it down here if you want to. It is just an activity for your, for yourself. So areas of improvement delivering by a more planned approach and areas of improving delivered by more dynamic or emergent approach. Risk assessment. Uh, as I think so, you work on risk as well, on you, Hello?
Yes. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
having some issue with my microphone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So you work on risk assessment as well, and hopefully you know about risk assessment. Risk
Yeah,
assessment
definitely. We
is,
maintain we maintain a risk register throughout the proposal preparation. We
oh yeah,
identify the risks, their possible, the probability, the impact. We do the estimate of each type of risk, etc. And then we do Monte Carlo analysis to arrive at the final risk value that is to be included as part of our estimation.
oh okay, okay. So basically risk managers are completely separate designation, and they work only on risk uh, assessment, risks, mitigations, and identifying risks, etc. So risk assessment is a process that involves identifying, assessing, and controlling risks that may impact a project. Risk in project is the combination of the probability or likelihood of an adverse event happening and its consequences or impact. If it did, uh, it is important to identify potential risk in a project, assess the level of risk, and take necessary measures to control them. There are different ways to identify risk in a project. For example, you can look at potential risk associated with the different phases of a project, such as design, planning, implementation, and control. So you can also consider the stakeholders involved in the project and the resources needed, such as uh, time, people, money, materials, informations, and tools. To start with, a good approach is to use your milestone planning structure and then look at each phase to identify the risks. Keep in mind the project's performance, time, and cost while identifying the risk. Project risk assessment is a very crucial process in project management. Identifying potential risk, assessing the level of risk, and controlling them throughout the project life cycle is important to ensure project success. Here we'll be discussing project risk in engineering and construction project. Is it related to you? I think so. Or you work in a project
Um,
engineering environment,
yeah,
or
engineering mainly. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So,
but we do even
so
like
definitely,
look at financial risks, client risks, country risks, etc. Because all this should be
okay, okay. Well, it is
accounted
quite
for in our.
interesting, isn't it?
Yes,
It is quite interesting
exactly.
risk. I know some risk managers, they're very happy, because it's a very interesting job.
Yeah,
Mm. Because they are hiring everywhere now, risk managers like banks, engineering companies, even in government organizations, everywhere. So, major resources of project risk identifying by Cohen and Palmer. There are uh, uh, they note that project risk can arise from various factors, including changes in project scope and requisitions, design errors and omission, inadequately defined roles and responsibilities, inaccurate cost, schedule, estimate, insufficient skilled staff, new technology, and force measures. Uh, if you are uncertain about the risk involved in your project, you can learn from previous similar projects with your organization. So this can help you identify potential risk and develop strategies to mitigate them. Otherwise, you can brainstorm potential risk with your project team or search for similar project on the internet to gain insight into what risks that faced and how they managed them. Another thing which is managing project risk is a critical aspect of project management, and it is essential to identify and manage these risks as early as possible to ensure project success. So take the time to assess potential risk and develop strategies to mitigate them to keep your project on track. Here, assessing the level of risks. How to assess the uh, level of risk? Uh, Not all risks are equal. Risks are equal, so should not be treated the same. To manage risk effectively, it is important to identify as many risks as possible and prioritize the most significant or highest risks. So you should identify as many as risks as you can and then give the highest or most significant risk the most attention. So how do you assess the level of risk? To assess the level of risk, we evaluate the probability of the risk occurring against the potential impact it could have it if it does happen. The assessment can be done qualitatively or quantitatively. Qualitative assessment involves assessing each and every factors in terms of high, medium, or low risk, while quantitative assessment involves assigning numerical values ranging from 1 to 5 factors. Quantitative assessment is considered more accurate and suitable for most projects, while qualitative assessment is better suited for small, medium projects. So, for example, generic risk that the village hall project may run over time in the building phase. The probability of this risk occurring is a high, as most building projects usually overrun due to force major such as bad weather. Uh, However, the consequences of this risk is low as the project is not time critical as it may be in a competitive environment. To assess the level of risk, it is important to evaluate the probability of the risk occurring against the potential impact it could have. If it does happen, this can be done qualitatively or quantitatively depending on the size and complexity of the project. Here is the risk register. Uh, we discussed before with how to register the risk: project title, sponsor, date, version, project manager, and here risk descriptions, probability, impact, status, owner and mitigation, and cross references. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Next one is design system and measures to monitor and appraise the status and progress of a project. Depending on the type and size of project, there may be many type of estimates. Uh, as you may know, depending on the time and size of a project, there are many types of estimate. Today we will be using example giving by Turner. Here is a Turner. Turner uh, for by Turners for a system projects to show a sequence of estimate throughout the project phases. In the initial phase of a project, there may be a rough order of a magnitude estimate, which is often based on expert judgment and historical data. This estimate is typically accurate within plus or minus 50% of the uh, actual cost or duration. Moving on to next phase of the project, the estimate becomes more refined. A preliminary estimate is created, which is typically accurate within plus or minus 30% of the actual cost or duration. So this estimate is often based on more detailed information about the project requirements and scope. As the project progress further, a detailed estimate is created, which is typically accurate within plus or minus 15 of the actual cost or duration. Uh, The estimate is based on even more detailed environment about the project requirement, scope, and resources required. As the another way to monitor the progress of a project is by using here a control tender. Now, how accuracy of the estimate improve as you can go from one phase to next. We can monitor and appraise the status and progress of a project using these estimates. We common way to do this is the using earned value management or EVM. EVM is a technique that integrate the project scope, schedule, and cost objectives. By using EVM, we can track how well the project is progressing in terms of cost and schedule performance. Another way to monitor the progress of a project is by using key performance indicators. KPIs is a very common, you might heard in your firm or company, or a set of metrics that can be used to evaluate the project performance against established goals and objectives. Designing system measures or to monitor and appraise the status and progress of a project is essential to ensure the project success. So by using estimate, EVM, or KPI, we can track how well the project progressing and make the necessary adjustment to ensure that is completed on time and within budgets. Type of cost. Hello?
Yes.
Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, Frost, sorry. Uh, the type of cost. Before you can estimate cost accurately, you need to understand the type of cost a project may involve the cost components. Turner identifying the following type of costs through you may not use them all on any of project. Uh, labor. Labor cost. This refers to the number of man hours that will be needed to complete the project. So this components takes into consideration the number of hours that each member of the project team will be working on the project. So next is materials, physical resources that are consumed in delivering the project, both along the way and as a final project. And the third one is plant and equipment cost. Uh, these are physical resources that will add in the delivery of the project outcomes, but are also available for use in other projects. Contractor material labor of outside contractors. So subcontractor cost refer to the materials and labor cost of outside contractors who are bought in the assist with the project. Fifth one, management overheads and administration cost. Uh, this cost component refers to the internal resources allocated to manage the project, including the project management office and other resources. The finance cost refers any loans, facilities, or other debt mechanism uh, used to fund the project. So fees and taxation, such as professional fee and VAT that may be incurred during the project. So next is inflation cost are included to cover resources, prices, and cost going. So we cover the possibility of resources, prices, and cost going up during the project. Uh, and then contingency cost are added to the total cost estimate to cover the possibility that our calculations are too optimistic. This is typically around 5 to 10% and may be built into each cost component to totaled as a separate then. Project control system. Project control system is a total approach to monitoring, assessing, and correcting based on performance criteria. This process involves comparing what should have happened as forecasted with what has actually happened, assessing the difference between the two, and taking appropriate corrective actions to get the project back on track. To help illustrate this process, I'll be using a diagram. We are using diagram uh, created by Young that shows the key elements and flows of a project control system. First, we need to prepare by establishing our performance criteria and developing plan. Uh, uh, a plan for how will measure and monitor the project progress. This includes defining our goals, identifying milestones, and establishing a schedule for monitoring progress. Project control system like has a certain key features. It is holistic. You should monitor and control all phases of your project, even the initial planning and specification stages. Uh, com- uh, it is knowledge based and involves collecting data, making sense of it, and taking action based on your conclusion. It is also a communication system with data coming in and information going out to stakeholders, and a feedback and feed forward system where you have process that report deviation and process that anticipate and variances. Our project control system is also an organizational system with different people having different responsibilities for different type of the system. Scope of your project controls should cover key deliverables, work quality, cost, time, people, and uh, finally risk. uh, if we talk about key deliverables, you need to ensure that the project is delivering what it said it would. This is where you need to monitor progress and make sure the milestones are being achieved on time. So next is work quality. It is important to ensure that the work being carried out meets quality criteria. This could involve carrying out regular checks and inspections to ensure uh, inspections by quality auditors or quality managers to ensure, or project managers to ensure that quality standards are being met. Next is cost control is essential to ensure that the project is delivered within budget. So people, you need to make sure that the team is doing what they should be doing, and that stakeholders are doing their parts. This could involve monitoring team performance, conducting regular meetings, and involve and providing support to ensure that everyone is on track. Last one is risk. It is, as we discussed, very important to monitor risk throughout the project to ensure that it is under control. This could involve conducting risk assessment, identifying potential risk, and developing contingency plans to mitigate any risk. Here, you know that some chart is showing key deliverables, work, cost, time, people measures method of control and risk. So here it says the very common questions when it comes to controlling a project process, how do you measure the difference between what should be happening and what is happening. So the various method for keeping control using should already be in place, as they should have been developed during the planning stage. Those tools and methodologies that were used to help develop your estimate and projections can now be used as the basis of monitoring and controlling those estimates and projects. Cost performance index, schedule performance index, SPI. This measures the progress of a work against the planned schedule, the progress of work against the uh, a planned schedule. If the SPI is less than one, indications that the project is behind schedule. So next one is a CPI, also is a very common uh, uh, method which is used. This measures the efficiency of work against the planned budget. If the CPI is less than one, it is indicate that the project is over budget. So another, we just discussed EVM, integrate project scope, schedule, and cost objectives, providing uh, uh, an early warning of problems. Uh, Here, there are other financial indicators of project success. Can you see my screen, Frost?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Financial indicator is the persist value, net present value is the difference between the present value of cash flows and the present value of cash outflow. So it's a very commonly used method for assessing the profitability of an investment. The higher the net present value, the more profitable the investment is likely to be. Another financial indicator is the here, which is internal rate of return. The internal rate of return is the discount rate that generates zero net present value for a series of future cash flows. In other words, it is the rate at which the project breaks even. The higher the IRR, the more profitable the investment is likely to be. So the profitability index is yet another financial indicator that can be used to assess the success of a project. So this is calculated as the present value of future cash flows divided by the initial assessment. A profitability index of 1 or greater indicates that the project is likely to be profitable. So when assessing the success of a project, it is important to consider a range of financial indicators such as net present value, then internal rate, and profitability index. How it is important to keep in your mind that these indicators should be used in conjunction with the other factors to make informed decisions about the success and success of a project. Payback. Payback calculates how long it will take to pay back the initial outlay for an investment. When using the techniques, the project with the shortest payback period would be chosen. There are some advantages of disadvantages. The key advantage of payback is that it is easy to calculate and understand. It is also useful for firm operating in market that undergo fast changes, since it provides a quick snapshot of when the investment will start generating positive cash flows. Additionally, payback consider the timing of cash flow. which is important since not all cash flows occur at the same time. Payback also have some has some disadvantages. So one of the main concerns that it can encourage short-term thinking rather than long-term planning. So by focusing solely on the project period, companies may overlook the long-term profitability of an investment. Additionally, payback does not consider revenues and costs that occur after payback has been achieved. So this means that an investment which is longer payback period may still more profitable in long run than one with a shorter payback period. uh, uh, Payback period here's year one cash flow, consume cash flows 1, 0 to 5, and look at cumulative cash flow in end of year 3, 400 left to meet. Here initial investment and year 4 can cash flow is 500, so our payback period should be 3 years, and some methods divided by 500.8 years, so 8 is equal to 12 is equal to 10. So now pay back 3 years and 10 months. Discounted cash flow, net present value. uh, Discounted cash flow techniques and their use in calculating the net present value as a series of cash flows. This is important tools that help us measure the change in shareholders wealth now as a result of accepting a project. Uh, Here NPV start present value of cash inflow, net present value. It is the present value of cash inflows minus the present value of cash outflow. If the net present value is positive, it means that the cash uh, inflow from a project will yield a return in excess of the cost of capital, and so the project should be undertaken if the cost of a capital is the organization target rate of return. In other words, the project will create value of shareholders. If the net present value is negative, it means that the cash inflows from a project will yield a return below the cost of capital, and so the project should not be undertaken if the cost of capital is organization target rate of return. So this indicates that the project will destroy value of shareholders. Our net present value is exactly zero, the cash inflow. This means that the cash inflows from a project will yield a return which is exactly the same as the cost of capital. Therefore, if the cost of capital is the organization's target rate of return, the project will have a neutral impact on shareholders' wealth and may not uh, be worth undertaking because of the internet risks in any project. So can you see my screen, Frost?
Yeah, I can.
Or any questions so far?
No, it's fine. Just trying to process. It's too much information in one session.
Sorry.
It's too much information. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to process. Anyway, I'll
Oh
have
yeah,
to
yeah,
go
it
through
is.
it after the
Basically,
session.
yeah, these are very common. These are very common. If you heard about end present value, IRR, DCS, uh, they use most of when they do project in finance, used by finance department. In banking sectors, that use too much.
Yeah.
And also quality. If you see, have you ever heard about Prince 2?
About what?
Prince 2 project in
No.
uh, Prince 2 is a project in control environment. If you get chance, Google it and just look at there shows everything. Prince 2 is a most famous project in control, project management It's a, you can say, course, or it is just like a they use like certification, sorry, certification. Okay.
Yeah.
So uh, there are more than 200,000 Prince 2 project managers. It is very famous project uh, certification which you, so if you go through the just a basic of project Prince 2 project in controlled environment, you can see all of these, whole cycle and one by one.
Yeah.
So so next one is net present value. Net present value is a very essential tool of businesses and investor to determine whether a proposed project is worth pursuing or not. It helps to in assessing the viability of investment by looking at the future return of a project in today's term. So the basic premise of NPV value uh, is very simple. So money has a time value. In other words, like if I talk about pound today is worth more than a proud tomorrow, than a pound tomorrow. So this is because money can be invested today and earn interest, which makes it worth more in the future. So, therefore, when evaluating a potential investment, we need to consider not only the amount of money involved but also the timing of the cash flows. So, the calculate net present value forecasting the expected cash flows from the project. We then discount these cash flows to find their present value. The discount rate used is typically the cost of capital, which is the rate of return required by investors to compensate them for the risk associated with the investments. So if the present value of the expected cash flow is greater than the cost of the project, then the investment is deemed viable. In contrast, if the present value of the cash flow is less than the cost of project, then it is not worth uh, pursuing. Here, example of net present value, uh, minus 20,000, 20,000, present value 5,000. Present value is for 4,545. Cash flow is a 7,000. Then present value is 500 and 5,782 pound. And third is cash flow. If 8,000, present value will be 6,008 pound. Accounting rate of return, sometimes called the rate of a capital employed. So the ARR is a ratio of profit to capital employed. It can be expressed as ARR, accounting rate of return, average profit divided by initial capital. This is calculation of NPV by 100 pounds or accounting rate of returns. Uh, Calculate the accounting rate. We determine the average profit earned by the business in a year. So this figure then divided by the initial capital, uh, and then invested to establish in ratio. For example, if a business earns an average profit 50,000 pound per year and the initial capital invested was 500,000 pounds, so then the ARR would be 10%. 550,000 pound divided by 500,000 pound, which is capital, initial capital. It is just my example. Let's say if average profit is 50,000 pound, initial capital of 500,000 pound, multiply by 100, that will be accounting rate of return will be 10%. So this means that a business earns a return of 10% of on its initial investment, which can be used to evaluate the profitability of the investment. So advantage of using the ARR is that it is a simple and easy to calculate measures of profitability. It does not take into account the time value of money, which can be significant factor of determining the profitability of investments. Also, ARR does not consider the risks associated with the investment, such as the potential for unexpected expenses or changes in market conditions. As such, it is very important to consider other financial ratios and factors when evaluating the profitability of an investment. Next one is develop contingency plans to help mitigate potential delays in the progress of a project. So project documentations, very as you know, and projects are often faced with unexpected issues and delays. And as project manager, it is important to be prepared for these situations. So the first step developing a contingency plan is to ensure that all project manager management document is centralized in one system. This includes all plan specifications, schedule, and cost breakdown, logs analysis, reports, and etc. Having specific project management software can facilitate this process and make it easier to access the necessary information when required. Uh, One, this is in place, it is important to conduct a final review and close out of the project. So the purpose of the final review and the report is identify successful outcomes, provide final actual against forecast, and give an overview of how the project. It is also essential to address any issue and problems that arose during the project, so how they were resolved, and highlight any unexpected and emergent process throughout the project and how they were dealt with. So this could include alternation made halfway throughout the project due to new leadership or changing requirements. So can you hear Firas?
Yes, I can.
Okay, any questions so far?
No, that's fine.
Okay, next one is contingency plan. Contingency plan is a plan, and like any plan, it is requires a great deal of research and brainstorming. And like any good plan, there are steps to take to make sure you are doing it right. So identifying to create contingency plan, you need to do your research and brain possible scenarios. You can start by identifying and prioritizing your company's crucial resources such as team, tools, facilities, etc. So then prioritize the list from most important to least important. Next is figure out the any risks. Meet with teams, executives, and every other department in within the organization to get a full picture of what events could compromise your resources if necessary. So hire an outside consultant to help you identify potential risks. Then is uh, draft a contingency plan. Uh, once you are identifying the risks, it is you can draft a contingency plan. So if you can write a plan for each risk that you identified, but start with what is most critical to the life of your organization. As time permits, you can create a plan for everything on your lists. So whatever the plan throughout behind each should be steps necessary to resume normal operation of the company, thinking about communications, people, responsibilities, timeline, etc. So contingency plan is essential for any organization that wants to be prepared for unexpected events or crises. So by doing your research, identifying risks, and drafting a plan, you can minimize the impact of a crisis and ensure that your organization can resume normal organization as soon as possible. Uh, Here, contingency plan. Here he is discussing about contingency planning and why it is so important for any organization. The first thing is share and plan. Uh, plan it is essentially plan that outlines the steps and organizations will take in event of unforeseen event or circumstances. So it is proactive approach to handling unexpected situations. Once you have written contingency plan and it's been approved, it is important to make sure that everyone in the organization has a copy of your project, I mean a contingency plan. So a contingency plan is only effective if it is been properly communicated. So be sure to share it with everyone uh, in your organization. Uh, Contingency plan isn't just all in stone. So that means is not set in stone. It needs to be revisited, revised, and maintained to reflect changes in the organization. As new employees, technologies, and resources enter the picture, the contingency plan must be updated to handle them. It is important to keep this in mind and consistently revisit the plan to ensure it remains relevant and effective. Project management contingency planning is often part of a risk management. Any project manager knows that a plan is only an outline, and sometimes the project will extend beyond those lines. So the more a manager can prepare for chance in their plan, for more effective it will be. So but risk management is not the same as contingency planning. Risk management is about identifying, assessing, avoiding, mitigating, transferring, sharing, and accepting risks. While a contingency plan is about developing steps to take when actual issue occurs, how they do share the aspect of what to do when the risks happen. So a contingency plan is what to do if an unplanned event occurs. It can be as simple as asking what if and uh, then outlining the steps to your plan as your answer that question. So contingency plan is a crucial part of any organization's strategy. So it is very important to develop and maintain a plan that is proactive and relevant to the organization's needs. Uh, Thing to remember, communicate the plan to everyone in the organization and to consistently revisit and revise it to ensure it remains effective. Assessing a major infrastructure project, if you want to go through this, is just some project uh, ideas and discussions. Contingency plan video, if you want to go through and quiz. So that's it for today. So any questions so far for us?
No, thank you very much. I'll be going through the files once again, and I'll text you if I have some
Yeah, have
questions.
you started your assignment as well?
No, I'm planning to start today, so I'll be sending you some draft this week.
Yeah, that's fine, no problem. So you
Yeah,
have the slides as well anyway. You might get
right.
my lecture with slides so you can check,
Yeah. Now,
go through again.
for the second part of the assignment, the presentation, it says that
Yes,
we have to use some specific tool. Are we going to discuss this in one of the sessions?
yes, our last session is about assignment. There will be discussion, but for present, you don't need to use PowerPoint. Okay.
Yeah, because I've seen something called Pret, something like this. I don't recall the
Yeah,
name of the software.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
never
but
worked on that. I'm not sure what is this tool.
no, you can, you can use what I'm saying that we will discuss
Hmm.
next week, but you can use normal, MS Word. Just write in
Okay.
because
the
some
notes.
people yeah, some people try to make a proper presentation, because this is
Oh,
not a classroom based and you don't need to use PowerPoint. Just put your
oh,
ideas in it and just use MS Word. Okay.
oh, clear.
Okay, thanks for us. Have a good
Good.
day.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. You
if
too.
you've
Bye
got
bye.
any question, just drop me an email, tutor-management@ukversity.com. Okay,
Sure.
thank you very much. Have
Sure.
a good day.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye.